Good morning. I'm standing out here outside the hangar. It's Wednesday afternoon. A lot of planning still going on, but there's a lot of activity going on here at the airport. Let me turn this around. So we have a Cirrus and a Huey. The concrete floor, the concrete floor is poured over there. Things have been moving around in this hangar. Another Cirrus, and this floor over here is got concrete floor poured. So lots of stuff going on. Let me walk back into the hangar and I'll show you what's been going on in there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put the instruments that I didn't have the other day, the airspeed and the VSI, and we're going to do a complete system check, pedostatic check on it. I do have a problem with the cutout here. This is where the VSI was, and I'll try to drop a picture in here of what this panel looked like back in the old days. It wasn't a traditional six-pack. We've arranged these instruments so that this is the way aviation dictates they should be. And so we're going to have to make an adapter plate to put a VSI back in here. What was in here was one of these, and the VSI was actually over here where it doesn't belong. Okay, another thing, I don't know how well you can see this, but Jan has started working on getting the vacuum system plumbed into the airplane, and I need to start doing the plumbing from instrument to instrument as far as the pedostatic system goes. So that's kind of what we're working on. There's not a lot to see. We'll see what we get done and how we go about doing that. So let me show you one more thing. So a lot of planning's been going on the vacuum system. We've also been looking at what it's going to take to make the pedostatic system work. Let me see how far we get today, and really trying to get this done so that we can get the nose on. So stand by. Hi, John.
Hi, Bob.
Got
Hi,
here.
Jan.
Hey, Bob. Hey, John.
So
What are we doing here?
we are just showed up. It's Friday morning. Everybody's getting started on what we're doing. As you know, we've been working on the instrument panel and trying to get everything hooked up, and right now we're in the midst of plumbing. We had a paper schematic, just notes of how we were going to configure everything, and we've got it. But Jan has been, let me get up here. Whoops, I can do it without falling. Okay, so Jan has been making tubes. He's about to make one more to go from here up to there. And we're doing this. We also have to do it on the other side. He's got some tubes made over there. Looks fantastic. So Jan's going to walk us through the process of what we go through to make one of these tubes.
So we're going to start with this tube here that I cut to length. It's now seated in the flaring tool. So let's go flare this tube.
Okay, so this is the tool you use for flaring the tubing.
So let's add the flare. Come over here and put a lubrication on that. And I'll just wind it in there. And then I use the vise to get the last little bit going.
You know, aiming a camera is kind of like holding a drop light for somebody. You forget where you're aiming.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we'll undo this. Free this tube up from this contraption. And we'll inspect the flare to make sure it hasn't split out during its process of being formed. And this looks nice.
Very
okay,
nice.
So we'll go to the next step. And we'll just tune this up, clean it up a little bit.
So what he's doing is just taking any tears, any rough edges,
any tooling marks off of it.
right?
Over here and polish it up a little bit.
And of course, this will all be washed and cleaned before we put it in service. So fear not, we're not going to put a dirty part in the airplane.
And there you go. There's the flare.
Perfect. Very nice. Okay, now the fun really begins.
So now we'll take a sleeve and put it on here.
Just throw that around if you don't want it, Jim.
Okay, and there's that. Now we'll come over and look at it on the airplane and see how we're going to form this tube. So I need to connect this fitting to this fitting here. This will go into here.
So you kind of got to have two angles out of it, huh? Two turns.
And
or three turns.
So I've got to have two bends on it. Eventually it'll be a horseshoe looking thing, pipe like this one here.
Right.
Let's put one bend in it and we'll come back and test it.
Okay.
Put the tubing bender in here. And just bring it right around like this to 90 degrees. That looks pretty 90 to me.
Okay. Okay.
And let's go see what our next step is.
Okay. So all of this is a process that has to be done on every one of these. We can't reuse. There's been a couple of pipes we've been able to reuse, but whenever this thing was in service before, it didn't have a standard 6-pack like you'd normally see in today's aircraft. Well, so we have to reconfigure things to put things where they need to be. So,
okay.
just trying to figure out the best routing.
So I can tell they're probably going to have to redo this pipe, but we're going to make a model out of it if this doesn't work.
Okay.
So what I do here is I mark the pipe with the center line of the fitting over to here. This will define my bend line.
Okay.
So by lining up this line halfway through the diameter of the bend mandrel, or the diameter in here, will get me, will reach this trajectory on this pipe exactly where I want it with respect to the other fitting.
And it's going to be a little bit short, isn't it?
I believe this one's going to be short. That would work great if I didn't have that Clyde there.
If you didn't have that collision.
Yep.
So you're going to have a third bend in there.
Yep.
Okay. So we definitely need another tube. It'll look pretty when you get it done.
So I'm going to rethink this pipe here, because this is going to get too tight for me to bend another couple L's in here. So we'll start over. A little longer tube this time. I think we'll come out. We'll do a 45 over and then down and then over. It's a little bit of a complicated pipe, but I think that's how we're going to have to pull that off.
Okay.
Okay, so there's that.
All right, we'll get another piece of tubing, and part of the process of figuring out how to do this. So we'll stand by. We'll be right back. All right, we've got our new tube rebent. We were trying to use a remnant that just wouldn't make the length. So got this bent. Now Jan has marked it where it's got to cut into this, or
Where the flare starts.
Where the flare starts. And so we'll go get this cut off, and we'll flare that in, put another nut and a ferrule on it. We'll put the nut and the ferrule on first, and then we'll cut it off and flare the tube. So, and Bob and John are in the cockpit testing some temperature systems on the oil temperature.
It says 78.
Okay, so we're on the last flare that we got to do on this tube. How many more we got to do?
This is the final main tube, and then just a bunch of little short tubes for connections throughout the rest of the system. But this is the last difficult tube.
Dave, we got to make 12 more, or 10 more, or 8 more connections, right? No, 10 more. 10 more flares.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're not saying this is how to do it. This is how we did it.
This is how you do it if you've got hand tools.
Right.
If you're in a high production mode, you'd have lots better tooling.
Yep. But these are pretty standard tools in the aircraft maintainers' tool boxes. Okay, we'll get this all cleaned up and washed.
Didn't split now.
Then we'll get it installed, see how it looks.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect V. Look at that.
Yeah. So this is the tube ready to go in the airplane. Let's make sure it fits.
Well, now it'll just start like it's supposed to.
Hey,
there you go.
Even fits.
There you have it.
So, and I couldn't see this one before from my angle, but he's done a lot of work over here and getting all these connected. So the airplane itself is basically done. Now it's just making connections to the vacuum pumps.
To the hosing system here.
Mm-hmm.
This is filtered air in. That will go through all the instruments and then come back out into here, back to the vacuum pump.
Okay.
Go back out through here and into the nose. So now the big deal is to make these connections into here and both sides with these hoses.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, this is going to be an ongoing project through the next few days, maybe Monday, we'll see a resolution to all this piping. We were able to locate a couple of vertical speed indicators. We'll be testing those and getting those installed. We're still looking for airspeed indicators that are worthy. But it's time to go home. John will be working on this probably over the weekend, and I'll be back Monday. I appreciate you watching my videos. I hope you gain something from them, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. I would really appreciate it. Share it, like it, and drop some comments. I really appreciate them. I respond to basically all of them. So yeah, drop a comment. I'd like to hear what you have to say about what we're doing. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.